All right, love and respect, everyone. This is Ross
Greetings,
Spin
greetings,
with my
greetings,
good
greetings.
brethren, Ross Naim, an infinite treasure.
The original Rastaman Rasnaya. Dea.
Yes, I love and respect
Twisting
to
and turning these
everyone.
wires. Yes, I. Twisting
So
and turning these wires.
we coming live and direct, first time ever on YouTube with this channel, because we in this great conjunction season, you know,
We know
and
better, we got to do better.
yeah, so that's right. We taking it next level, and hopefully this will be the first of many live and direct connections with my brethren,
See.
because we actually did a IGTV, and I felt like the synergy was proper. You know,
Mm,
we bring
mm.
out the best of one another.
Yes,
So
I.
we
Yes,
might as
I.
well
Hey,
continue
you
that
remember?
thing.
You remember what you said when you introduced me to Stay Relevant?
I don't, brethren.
He's like, yo, this brethren is the future. I and I is.
Mm,
we the archives. We the what I'm saying? We the museum specimens of this here works, you know?
true,
Yeah,
true,
man.
true. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but while we're here, we need to touch these people. You
See,
know,
see,
give them a
see.
message and a word sound. Same
I
way.
see.
You know.
I see. The
Yeah.
foundation king, the foundation kings, you know?
True.
Yeah, man. The foundation of the Earth Keeper Nation amongst we
Mhm.
melanations, the melanations, you know?
Right. So we're on my channel for those that don't know. Every man has a teacher. You know what I'm saying? He may be at the pedestal or teaching or whatever, right? But every man have a next source where he expands his awareness. So for those that don't know, Ras Naim, an infinite treasure, this man has been an integral part last 20, almost 20 years, maybe 18 years. This
Mm,
man been
mm.
building with me. He's the first man to take me to the Tucson Gym Show. Uh, it was the first man to invite me outside of the Philadelphia region to do some teachings, which was the Pittsburgh region at that time. And this is my wire rap teacher, you know,
Mm,
man that
mm,
taught me
mm.
how to, the economic alchemy, taking two pieces of wire and a stone and an intention and transform those what might be $2-3 worth of material into abundance times abundance. Multiply your currency as well as bless someone royally as far as giving them protection and healing and just being a close companion with them at a certain point in their journey. So this man, Ras Naim, is you know, from the early rocks of ages, the first edition. I've been building with this man, and it's an honor as we closing out this great conjunction to be doing such mighty works with him that we got lined up for this great conjunction.
What
So
kind of conjunction of that? Sound like an Earthkeeper conjunction to me. Sound like the caps is at the top of the thing.
tell him
What?
what's up.
Hey. So for those who don't know, I as a humble man, I usually just keep into my little corner, my little recess of the corner of creation. But I am a Capricorn. I'm a Christmas Day baby, 1975 to be exact. By the grace of the Most High, 22 years ago, when I was 22 years old, I crossed paths with this Kandake, a remnant of them great mamas. And she one of them stubborn Capricorns too. So needless to say, we one of the largest households holding firm that I know of. The only other one I know that's holding firm on these levels is Ross Ben and Mama Kim, you know, and they offer a level of like I say, just insight and methods and functional ways and means to deal with this old time tradition, you know, this big family vibe. So that's how I see this thing. The Most High put us together for more than one reason. The work we got to do is way bigger than just you and me, King Man. You know? Yeah, man, this thing is transcending generations, even if it only touches our households. You know? The
True.
implications are far reaching,
True.
very far reaching. So yeah, man, it's only right, brother, that in this time, this great conjunction, the Capricorn conjunction, that those of us down here in the Carolinas, that's this Capricorn conjunction that's down here, can contribute to the healing of the nations, you know, on these alchemy economic frequencies, you know, on these economic alchemic frequencies,
Well, tell them
because
what's up. Tell them what's the lineup.
we've been blessed by it, man. So look, the lineup, this is why we got to do it now, Ross. This is why we're doing it now. Because every year we only get one gem show. One every year, the week before Thanksgiving. You know? And years come, years go. This is a year like none other. And we just together again for the first time. And 04 was the first time. So what's that,
You know what,
16 years?
Ross? Hey, Ross.
My baby girl.
Ross. Looks
Yes.
like you might be taxing your bandwidth. It's like your audio's kind of fuzzy. So
Okay. Let me do this. Let me chime in on the next device. If you can just hold firm for 5 minutes max, man, I'll be on something that's a little more
yeah,
solid.
no worries. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring up the flyer and reason a little bit while you get your technology proper, all right?
Yes, I'll see you in a few moments, brother.
All right.
Yes, I.
Yeah, have patience with us, y'all. I tell y'all this is our first run at this team, you know? So yeah, hopefully y'all see my screen. And yeah, this great conjunction. We're in this 2020 great conjunction season. And I want to reason more on that in a minute. But why I brought Ras Naim to be a part of the conversation is because, like he said, he's a Capricorn. This great conjunction is happening in Capricorn. And I see this brother's magnetizing a strong community together to get the downloads and the, you know, uplinks and the higher awareness that, you know, usually happens when we have these major planetary alignments. So the Carolinas seem like it's going to be the place where it's jumping off. We're starting November 13th in Charlotte, the Comedic Science Institute. Then we got a string of events from that Saturday through the upcoming uh, Strong Beginning with some called Weekend, culminating with the Columbia Gem and Minerals Show. We're going to be getting into some economic alchemy, you know, but we're going to be reasoning on every night. We're going to have a different reasoning. You know, I'm going to share the nuggets of one tonight once Ross comes forward, you know, but we're going to, you know, we're going to every night penetrate some deep history, mystery, prophecy, you know, uh, that starting Friday in Charlotte, Comedic Science Institute. That's I'm gonna give you a preview of tonight. But at Solomon's Temple, the following Monday, we're going to drop some jewels, decoding Columbia, like decoding that whole the geomancy of the Carolinas. The 17th at Natural Vibrations. We're going to what do we have lined up there? We were going to look at the economic alchemy. Look at the economic alchemy as far as the abundance principle that comes with working with the gem and mineral nation, and how this is an important means of exchange and barter in this upcoming age. At the Sphinx Paw on the 18th, we're going to do some more decoding of Columbia, and we're going to seal it up at House of Hathor with a 2021 beyond 2020 forecast, and then we're going to head right into the Columbia Gem Show for 3 days. So keep a link with our IG. We're going to be updating the movements. My IG is RossBen188. Ross Naim's is Baba8 Naim. Okay. Yeah, man. And come and get a download, get an uplink, get some power pieces for this great conjunction, So I'm gonna oh, and I do want to say while we're waiting for Ross that for myself, I am manifesting 2 works this great conjunction season. These is going to be coming forward, coming out soon as I return. So one project is I'm doing the 20-year anniversary reprint of the original Rocks of Ages. People on Amazon been selling used copies of these for close to $1,000. Yeah, I hacked through. These were done on a software. The Rocks of Ages was laid out on a software that's not even supported anymore, Quark Express. So recreating the files to go to press, it wasn't a push of a button. It took a while, but we're ready. We're going to do a 20th anniversary reprint, and that's going to, like I say, come in December of this year. And creator willing, early 2021, we're going to have a new release, The Knowledge of the Nomo, where we decode Dogon cosmology, not just about Sirius, where most people stop at, but like the whole cosmology, the whole compilation of the Pale Fox and conversations of Ogo Tumeli, decode these things, decipher these things in a way that, we know what they're talking about, because anyone familiar with those works know they're not easy reads. They're complex. They're not easy. So we break it down in a way that we can overstand on a historic and astrophysical level what were the Dogon talking about, So before we get back into the reasoning for tonight, let me see if Ross, yes, let's invite him forward. Ross, you with me?
Give thanks, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Were you able to hear what I was reasoning on?
Absolutely. I was sitting
right.
backstage probably for about the last 3 minutes.
All right, lovely. So is there any sound you want to block before we get into the nice reasoning?
You speak about the Dogon and the no mo in the conversations with Ogo Tomele. So as you was talking about that, I couldn't help but reflect upon some of the lasting impressions from the copy you gave me that I was able to penetrate, right? And particularly the part about the ancestors that don't get their due process.
Mm.
I don't know why that comes to the front of my mind, but usually that's how spirit works.
Mm.
In the Dogon culture, they say that the places where they brew the beverage, wherever they brew the beverage, the vats, that's where those souls who for whatever reason, their families, their associates didn't come up with the necessary resources to give them a formal homegoing.
Mm.
They gather there.
Mm.
They gather at the vats, and the way I interpreted that is that when man drink the spirits, take the spirits internally and become intoxicated,
Mm.
in the Dogon culture, they don't trouble the man in the streets.
Mm.
That's unheard of here. If you're drunk in the streets, they're taking you straight to a sober cell, right?
Right.
Amongst the folks of the Dogon in the Mali tradition, they don't trouble the cats that's walking down an alley blurting out obscenities.
Mm.
They understand it as
Mm.
the mouthpiece of those souls who are still waiting to get that last push of Ashe so they can make their journey to the realm of their ancestors.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And that whole formality of what the community does to honor the passing of a soul is so crucial to, that soul's sojourn from this dimension into the realm where the ancestors are.
Mm.
So for whatever reason, as you speak about them, that's what comes to mind. When I read that book, that stood out, and it speaks volumes to a lot of the challenges and a lot of the repeating cycles that we experience here, with just so many souls that are in this Western world and don't have the ashe that comes with the formalities of our indigenous cultural traditions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The specific traditions and techniques, whether it's the drums, the dances, the prayers, the libations, whatever, these souls leaving and they don't really get a due process. And then we wondering why, all kind of happenstance, all kind of chaos and confusion is happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, the knowledge of the no mo is needed in these times now more than ever. These ancestors trying to help us, but it's a call and response. They can't help us if we don't help them. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Yeah, man. They can't help us if we don't help them.
True.
We got the power of the physical dimensions, and certain things that in the physical dimensions like light and water and fire is real. That's money in the bank for them. Libation is like a deposit in their account.
That's true.
So if we're not doing these things, then there ain't but so much they can do for us.
That's right.
There ain't but so much they can do for us, Ross. And the crazy part is, other cats. Look, I saw this little link the other day. Donald Trump's pastor was calling up angels out of Africa, trying to win the election. We want a victory. She started just speaking into I'm good at angels from Africa, angels from Africa, angels from Africa. Trying to dial up them ancestors, man, because they know there's power in it.
I seen that.
They don't set their things up on mounds for no reason. There's power in it.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So what happens when we line up with it? When we actually just pull back the veils, get the crud and the webs out of our eyes, you know what I'm saying? And take this thing serious, man.
And that's what this time is about. So give thanks, 'cause it's a good entry into the reasoning for tonight, you know?
I
So
say.
let me pull this thing up. Yes, I. So yeah, so those that have been following the works, we put forth an astrological forecast for 2020, and the winter was like it was no, it was the autumn. It was in November 2019, and we said 2020.
Right about a year ago.
Yeah, we said about a year ago exactly. We said 2020 was going to be the year of great conjunctions, you know, and that the year was going to have 5 major celestial alignments throughout the year, right? Starting the first one, starting early, January 12th, with Saturn and Pluto conjuncting at 22 degrees Capricorn, And that was followed uh, early spring, April 5th, by Jupiter Pluto conjunction, again in late degrees Capricorn. Then the summer solstice, June 21st, there was going to be a solar eclipse. Solar eclipse.
Hey, Ross. Hey,
Yo,
Ross.
what up?
I don't know if you're giving yourself due justice because you predicted some things with them things. You
Well, I'm gonna
predicted
go
with
into
that
that
first
star.
conjunction. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. I'm
All
just
right.
setting the stage.
I say.
So, right, we said at this solstice, it was going to be a real intense time because there was the great conjunction that we're getting ready to experience in its intensity between now going through December 21st. It was loosely configured at this solstice. And right, we got one coming up this Friday, which is like the last time this thing happened, I think, was 3,900 years ago. Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto conjunction in Capricorn.
That's popping off on the 13th?
13th, yes. And then we have the great conjunction, what they call astrologically the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn conjuncting at 0 degrees Aquarius, setting off a whole new cycle, which we're going to talk about. So we said with this great conjunction occurring in Capricorn, ultimately, the ultimate message is it's time to take responsibility for our place and condition in space-time. That either we in a prior incarnation or someone in our bloodline is responsible for where we are in space-time right now. No one else's ancestors, no one else. Our ancestors and ourselves. We also said a big thing with 2012 that the other planets that weren't in the stellium, particularly the moon and Neptune, they in the 12th house. All three kind of deal with angelic ancestral intervention, the 12th house, as well as the sign they were in, Pisces, and both planets. So we said that's kind of the big message of 2012. Another thing with the beginning of 2012, we said that the year was going to start with no squares or oppositions. So the omniverse was offering no resistance to the momentum we had moving into 2020. And I want everyone to think back. We ended 2019. Most people, I know I did, and a lot of people I was linked with, they ended 2019 and moved into 2020 with a lot of excitement, a lot of momentum, you know? And we said that these conjunctions were going to be like bumps, you know, bumps in the road that we're going to have to hold tight to the steering wheel to keep our momentum, you know? And I'm sure a lot of people kind of experienced 2020 that way. Some people might have hit these bumps and got knocked off the road, might had to stop and get some repair and regain their momentum, right? But you know, hopefully we've all been able to keep it moving to our destiny, you know, our holy divine one, you know?
Whole division. Whole
Yeah,
division.
true. So now this Ross is what you were speaking on. Let's talk about how some of these things are manifested already. Because the first one jumped off in January. We said it was going to be a global resource reset. That's what we said was going to jump off, you know?
In
And then
November.
we said this in November 2019, that coming up in January, there was going to be a global resource reset triggered. I didn't know what the trigger was going to be. We speculated. We thought it was going to be Brexit. That was kind of a hot topic then. U.S. banks was going through some shaky, uh, like tight on their capital. There was this loom of a trade war with China, who was owning U.S. debt. I didn't know what the trigger was going to be, but we said something was going to trigger a global resource reset. And that was going to be coupled with a corporate clampdown on the virtual reality. Like, what we, I guess, would call censorship was going to be interwoven with this thing. And so now, hindsight being 2020, we could see it was the pandemic that triggered the global resource reset. And they're even actually terming this event as that, a great reset, you know? And so what that tells me is that the, pandemic is causal, the reset is the effect, you know? It's a part of that, what they call problem, reaction, solution. The reactions to the pandemic is all a part of the global reset, you know? But we said, hey, don't get too stressed out because April, there was going to be some opportunities in this, whenever there's a challenge, what usually manifests right after it is opportunities. And we know this historically. So we said opportunities was going to come quick, like in April. And this Pluto Jupiter conjunction was going to occur in planet's seventh house. And so keeping good relations was very important.
Hey,
Yo,
let me just chime in real quick, man.
please.
When the sister Asherah, the star goddess,
Mm,
plugged us into her thing, it was right there at the beginning of April, brethren. I just
so
can't
right.
help but make that
You so
connection.
right. That's how we experienced this thing, me and you personally. That we made good relations with a star goddess.
And we
What
both kind of techno recluses, man. We don't be out here on no social media thing trying to make ends meet. And here she come, and she just like
yeah.
open the floodgate. Like, what?
Yeah, I'm a turtle that stays in my shell more often than not, just to do the works. And I actually need ancestral and angelic and community help with my works, particularly with
Family
the
man. He was a family man. You got a 30-year-old, brethren.
yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've been on the householder, and this is something we don't really see. It's not a common thing you see
Mm,
too often amongst ones and ones that look like I and I.
mm.
So I don't take it lightly. I've been watching you very closely and taking good notes for 20 plus years because there ain't too many examples of it
Yeah.
out here amongst me
Yeah.
contemporary. So nah, man, I'm just letting it be known. The reason why I know one reason why you keep it close to your vest is because your priorities are in order. You
Mm,
ain't out in the world. You're dealing with your you're dealing with your home front, you know?
Thanks for that, Star.
Yes,
Yes,
I.
sir. But something else that jumped off in April was the stimmy, you know, this everybody. It was like what do we when we reflected on it, like in the now time, it was the celestial jubilee. Because beyond just the government, and this was like a first that I was aware of, beyond the government just breaking everyone off 1200, which is, and 12 is a Jupiterian number, right? Uh, breaking off everyone 1200. It's like canceled for a month or two, you know? It was pause on evictions and foreclosures, utility payments, like you couldn't get no utility shut off because you didn't pay. It was like celestial, you know, the Jubilee used to be a part of the calendar. When I'm not even going to say calendar, the computus, because calendar means time to collect debt. Computus is a calculation of the days, right? And in the computus, there was a Jubilee year, usually every 49th year built in, where what that, and this was to prevent uh, generational debt being passed on to the next generation. Every 49 years, debt was canceled. All debt was canceled. So the debts of the parent didn't pass on to the debt of the child, you know? But they done canceled the Jubilee. It's not built in to the calendar, you know? So it was like the omniverse forced a Jubilee. You know, that's kind of how I looked at it. That Jupiter Pluto conjunction, you know?
See,
Now, that solar eclipse, right? What we said, it was hard to determine what was going to happen exactly, but we knew whatever it was going to be, it was going to be intense. It was going to be intense. And so, building up to the solstice, actually, the new moon, like right in the new moon, right before the solstice eclipse. An eclipse is a new moon, right? You had that Floyd Act. And here you can see the Floyd Act is the inner chart, right? And you can see where the sun and moon are in relationship to the eclipse, you know? It's like kind of set the stage for the intensity of the eclipse. And we know how intense that season was, you know? But right after, right after the solar eclipse on the solstice, this celestial event occurred. And this is the skies of Kemet, Egypt.
Ross,
Okay. Yes.
I can't see the imagery you got popping. If you're trying to display it to the rest of us, I don't see it. I know you have the ability to
What
flip the
happened?
screen.
Can
Well,
you
I
see
still see
that?
you. You just didn't flip the screen to your charts. I can't see your charts.
When did that start?
I've been looking at you the whole time. Honestly, I don't know if you ever flipped to the charts. I saw the charts early on when I first came on, but I don't know if you flipped it back to the charts since.
Yeah, I think I
I
got
don't
it.
see it.
Hey,
Okay,
can you?
it may just be a thing from my side. I don't see it on my side. I did see it before, but I don't see the charts now.
I think I got it where we on the side and the people can see it.
Okay,
All I can see though is what I'm showing y'all. I hope the people can see it, you know?
okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
I.
basically what I'm showing is, I'm gonna run it again, is on July 2nd of 2020, something, there was no planet that NASA has identified, uh, eclipsed the sun. And it was what the Dogon would call Po Pilo, uh, but I guess ones would call Nibiru or Nemesis, our dark star, sun, solar companion. The
That's the one
Dogon,
where I think in Kemet they had some images of some folks filming it like right before sunset. It was a clear
exactly, exactly. On this same YouTube channel, I have
see.
a video entitled Two Suns, One Earth, and it's included in there. But what I want to point out, and I really am praying that y'all can see my screen, uh, is that the graphic that we used to portray this year is the year of the Great Conjunctions. We got it from the film The Dark Crystal, very important film. I recommend everyone check it out. It and its sequel on Netflix, very relevant. If we
That's
know
a Jim Henson. That's a Jim Henson thing, right?
exactly,
Muppet thing. Yeah.
exactly. But showing that we are the Gelfling, the ones that if we know our place in space time and we work our crystals and in the appointed way, heal the dark crystal, right? Which was a giant crystal taken over by some reptilian sketchy being, right? That we heal the dark crystal at the Great Conjunction. Yeah, it renews the earth. So kind of tells what's up in this time, as far as entertainment, telling us what's up for this time. And Jim Henson show you how far of a visionary this man was. In this graphic, he captured what just happened in Kemet in July this year, where some darker star occulted part of the sun. You know, we're gonna get more into that. You know, but when I posted my Two Suns, One Earth video, I got some folk following up, sending me footage of the two suns that they captured. Here's one from a sister named Kyla. Thank you so much. I think she's down in Florida, I think she said. I can't recall exactly where she says she's from, but here's a close up of it where you can see there's near the sun is some orb that, now the thing is that this orb apparently has been near the sun for a while. Okay. I've seen footage, like researching it, I've seen footage going back to like the late 80s. Okay. Uh, but the thing is, you have there has to be certain conditions in the sky, particularly the sun being near the horizon and not so bright that it whites out the sky. And then you can't see the dark star because, its luminosity is not bright enough to be seen at the, brightness of day from like about 10 to 4, 9 to 4. You got to catch it early as sunrise, early as sunset. And the other time I've seen it is when there's cloud conditions such that, it's like partly cloudy, such that the sun is occulted in a way that you can see it, you know? Uh, but I mentioned, like, and this is something I'm gonna really get into in the knowledge of the Nomo, that, you know, not like I was saying, like everybody talks about how much the Nomo knew about Sirius, but we're gonna really penetrate the Nomo breakdown. The Dogon breakdown everything.
We said they chart the whole cosmos.
The whole cosmos. You just got to be able to decode it, And And within Dogon cosmology, this is Po Pilo. This is the twin of Po Tolo, Sirius B, you know? And yeah, I'm not going to get all into that right now because it's going to take us in another direction. But I do just want to point out this is what I'm going to be sharing in December, the knowledge of the Nomo, you know? But our good sister Rhonda Brown, big up. I know you're going to tune into this at some point. She sent me this as well. She took this from an airplane. To the left is one whole image from the window of her aircraft, and you can see the arrow pointing to the two celestial bodies next to the sun that could be seen from just the conditions being at that altitude, you know? And these images to the right, there are two others that are close-ups of it, you know? But those are two different images, you know, to show that it's not a glare, you know? That these are luminaries, okay? So that leads up to where we are now. The Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto conjunction of 2020. And this is where the three planets that kind of have been causing this great conjunction this whole year, they're going to be at their closest alignment, okay? They're all going to be within 5 degrees of one another, you know? Pluto's going to be at 22 degrees Cap. Jupiter is going to be at 23 degrees Cap. And Saturn is going to be at 27 degrees Cap. So what's happening here? The rulers of space and time are uniting with the ultimate inevitable. You know, Pluto is the ultimate inevitable. Saturn is the ruler of time. Jupiter is the ruler of space. So what we said, and at the begin in November, about a year ago, we said alignment of our relative truth with absolute truth is going to be a key to survival in this time. And the fact that this great conjunction is occurring in the Earth's 12th house, things beyond our control are going to be a big part of this, you know? And I know a lot of times when you say things beyond our control, for some people who equate control to security, you know, it creates angst and fear. But the 12th house is, well, let me put it this way: God and the angels are beyond our control. And so the 12th house is where we have our direct personal connection to the God and ancestors, you know, where 1,000 can fall by thy side and 10,000 by thy right hand, and it shall not come by thee, you know?
See,
And yeah, man, that's that 12th house. That's where that happens. So this is the time we gotta really get right with the most high. I guess you could say getting your quantum reality lined up, you know, with your visible reality so that that quantum physics, you create your reality that you want and line up with the timeline, line up with your redemptive timeline, you know? This is all the things that are key to survival in this time, you know? And
see,
why is this great conjunction hitting the US so hard? Because when 4th of July, 1776, the United States Pluto was in Capricorn. This great conjunction is sitting right on top of the United States Pluto, right? So last year we said space time is going to make this nation face hard truths about itself in this time, you know? And we see that unfolding, you know? Is this a democracy or is this a republic? You know? What's going on? What is freedom? What is uh, oppression? What is corporate sponsored government? All these questions we having to face, in now time, And we said this great conjunction was going to oppose Mercury and kind of blow our mind, We now when the Declaration of Independence was signed, that was really not the birth of the United States. That was the embryo. That's when the seed of the nation was planted. That was the embryo of the nation, right? When did the United States gain nationhood, national status amongst other nations? It was at the Treaty of Paris. And that occurred and got my glasses on, it's at 1783. Okay? In 1783, Treaty of Paris, Saturn and Jupiter were in Capricorn. So this great conjunction of Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn is sitting on the US, Saturn, and Jupiter. As far as the Treaty of Paris, when it actually became, the United States actually became a nation. So when we look at all that together, the United States is having a Pluto return as
Can you hear me, Ross? You freezing up. You still there, Ross? I see the time clicking. I don't know if that's my connection or yours, but
return, whatever.
mic check, mic check. Ross, Ben, you there? Got a little freeze up happening on my side. So I don't know if Ross is still on. It looked like he might have dropped out. But just what's up, Ross?
Hey, Ross, can you hear me online?
Nah, it looks like you dropped off. I'm still on, and the live is still rolling, but I don't see you.
Keep it going, bro. I'm gonna information overload. Too much for body room.
I already know how they stay. Well, to give me a chance to fill in where I dropped off, which is why we got to bring Ross Ben in to the Carolinas in this time. So yeah, Ross.
I'm gonna join you in a minute.
Ashe. Less. Why are we bringing Ross in at this time? For those that have been listening, we see, man, this man's offering is unlike any other kind of portion that I've personally been able to sip from to try to get my cultural, spiritual, psychological bearings around the space and time that I'm in. Ross Ben's angle is a very strategic angle on the space and the time that we're in, calculating all them things, not just off of a shot from the hip, but from critical calculations of what's going on in the heavens, right here, right now, where we're at, what has been going on in the heavens, times prior to this time, whether it's ancient time or whether it's the founding of this nation. All these things is relevant to the time that we're in because the time that we're in is so potent, It's so potent. And I had no idea. I'm not an astrologer. I just happen to be so blessed to have a key brethren who is a solid astrologer. It is not just looking at astrology from the vantage point of, individual charts and individual movements through space and time, but looking at the bigger scheme of things, like what was going on in the heavens when this nation was born, what was going on in the heavens, when His Majesty was crowned, what was going on in the heavens when Jamestown was founded, all these little things that we kind of can just seemingly take for granted. What was going on in the heavens when Donald Trump rose to power? Yeah, all these things are relevant, So, again, as a non-astrologer, I have great appreciation and I put great value into the insights available from one such as my key brethren, my scholar, my scribe brethren, my fellow earth keeper, who've been keeping track, keeping chart, taking notes, doing the science, and offering this information for those of us who ain't so zoned out that we can pay attention to the details. A lot of folks won't even pay attention because the gratification is not immediate, And on that note, that's what we point out, like, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? The earth is heavy. It ain't easy to move. And the things in the earth that form and carry value, they take a long time to form. Take a long time to form. Some of the things we got around these parts, even just little things, they take a long time to form. Something little like that takes millions of years to precipitate out of the different layers of the earth. Millions, not hundreds, not thousands, millions of years to form something little like this. But, size is just one measure, one perspective. Density is a measure. Hardness is a measure. Stability is a measure. So one of the prime advantages of the things that are coming out of the earth is stability. Something like this is so small, right, that in volume is dwarfed by most of the things around where I'm at. But if we have to measure vibrational integrity, right, most of the things that's within quarter mile, 1 mile radius are dwarfed by this little remnant from the earth because of how long it took to form and how stable it is as a substance in the midst of all these environmental variables, all the things that change in the environment over time. A good example, like the ships that sink with gold on them, right? All kind of changes happen to all the other materials on that ship, the iron, the copper, the wood, the gold. Even if some barnacles or what have you grow on that ship, grow on that gold for a couple hundred years, you scrape the barnacle off, the gold is still intact. It doesn't corrode. It doesn't decompose. That speaks to vibrational stability, integrity. Yeah. So it is within that principle, that law, that we see a lot of potential.
not just for cosmetic and even economic interest, but for vibrational, spiritual, for the potential of connecting, and establishing connections in this dimension with our folks and those ones that exist in dimensions beyond this one that we utilize, incorporate, institute the gems, the crystals, and the minerals in the works that we're bringing forward. So it's almost an hour, probably about 45 to 50 minutes ago. Ross asked, "What's up, Ross? What's the meaning for the season? Why are we doing this now?" And long time we've been trying to coordinate the space and the time where Ross can come in. Ross Ben can come in and share his offerings with the community down here in South Carolina. And we were just recently together in Denver. Second time we were able to catch major gym show. First time was in 2004. So 2020, 16 years later, we're able to synchronize at a major gym show again. And a revelation hit me out there that we are so underrepresented. What they would dub Africans Americans, Moorish Americans, Indigenous Americans, all of us copper tone folks, remnants of the original Americans. We don't show up at the gym show in no significant number, not compared to the rest of the nations of this earth who show up and make the most of the resource that the gym show is. We give the example of the farmer's market. If you're in a community and you're trying to get food and you throwing food, you're trying to get good food, you're trying to get good produce, you're trying to get the most bang for your buck so you can feed your family and your community. If you know better, you're not going to go to no Publix or no Bilo, no Food Lion, Walmart. We patronize those places, but the reality is most bang for we buck comes from the farmer's market. Yeah, as close to the sources we can get.
What's up, Ross?
Yes, I am. Bless up, Ross.
All right.
So to finish the point, the reason why we're bringing Ross in now is because we only get one gym show every year around these parts, and our people so underrepresented at these shows, in the spirit of capitalism, one of the high marks of capitalism is what they call monopoly. We've all played that game, Monopoly. And you know what happens in the game of Monopoly when you get a monopoly? What? You charge top price. Anytime somebody come around your parts, they gotta pay the highest price when you got all that property, when you monopolize a segment of the board. Anybody that come through your neighborhood, they pay top price, But the thing is that the capitalist system is diametrically opposed to our indigenous system, which was clan-based. And it had, a mutual appreciation for whatever each community brought. In them days, what they had was guilds. And the guilds would focus in on individual crafts and contributions. There was an agrarian guild, those who dealt with the food processing or fruit preparation, growing. There was the guild of cats that prepared the textiles, the fabrics and whatnot that we needed to carry on. The blacksmiths had a guild. The woodcutters had a guild, and nobody's portion was any more significant than any other. All of them respective contributions was necessary for the system to to be maintained. Capitalism is this top-down system that is like a serpent consuming its own tail.
Hmm.
You know, it ain't no good for none of us, right? So our approach and our method, the reason why we're doing this now is a direct opposition to capitalism. You know, we are not capitalists. If I was a capitalist, I would keep the gym shows as hush-hush as possible. Y'all all got to come to me and Ross Ben to get your crystals and gems because you don't know no better. But woe be unto the man that do something like that and know better. We say we know better. As a community, we have to do better. We have to make the most of this real estate. That is these resources that are available at the gym show. Real estate, you know, it don't lose value when you acquire it. It accumulates value. When you go to some of these shows, they got these things that are called estate pieces. When you buy jewelry and stones and gems, they refer to them as estate pieces, right? Because they don't lose value. They increase in value almost immediately, you know? So we just want to put this out to our folks. Like sooner or later, this table have to turn. We have to move from this state of dependence from other folks providing everything that we need. Not even just what we got to eat, but just our systems of exchange and trade. How do we maintain and sustain what we have that's valuable? And we say, open we eyes, scrape off the crust, look a little closer at the gym shows because it's an easy cop and flip. Easy cop and flip. Easy cop and flip. You don't even got to twist nothing up with it. Get it, post it up on Facebook, eBay, you know what I'm saying? Amazon. Get your cop and flip. Increase your income streams. Why not?
In the New York Times, about two strongs ago, they had an article about how this pandemic has jammed up everyone's economics, and a lot of people are turning to go into mines. Like you can pay entry to certain mines and mine for a day and then come out with your jewels and post it online. It's in the New York Times, focusing on Herkimer, New York, with the Herkimer diamonds,
Cop and flip.
The cop and flip, yes.
Cop and flip.
So I'm glad you was on there. Look, I even came in a room where I could plug in direct with an Ethernet cable because I know how they do me when I start blazing some fire with the reasoning, them jam up my bandwidth,
Yeah, man.
So, it got me same way. So look, I'm gonna go ahead and run this thing from the point I left off.
All right.
And what I think I did was I had it where they could see my screen. I don't even see it doing that now. Well, that's all good because you know why? We was just supposed to hold up, here we go. I was gonna say maybe we were just supposed to
Take your time, Ross. I got something for them to listen to. Meantime, until you get it in order.
Lovely.
I'm going to step out and I'll be right forward.
Because hate is legislated, written into the primer and the testament, shot into our blood and brain like vaccine vitamins. Because our day is of time, or hours, and the clock hand turns, closes the circle upon us, and black timeless night sucks us in like quicksand, receives us totally.
Cotton flip. Cotton flip. Cotton flip. Just like cotton flip. Cotton flip. Cotton flip. Just like cotton flip. On cotton flip. Cotton flip. Cotton flip. Just like cotton flip. On cotton flip. Cotton flip. Just like cotton flip. Just like cotton flip. Cotton flip. Cotton flip.
Cop and flip.
Cotton flip.
Let me show you how to cop and flip. Cop and flip.
Let me show you how to cop and flip. This ain't the same thing you seen on the strip. But yeah, I feel you won't try to stack your crib.
Especially if you're just trying to feed your kids.
I'm executing on some uplift shit. Use my gifts so we all grin and spit. Just a little bit about my methods. It ain't about the money but the resources. We want real estate and businesses. The flip funds all kind of services. It's best to keep flipping with the profit split. In order to see money from this music shit. It's independent ways of moving it. Every show opportunity be rocking it. On fire inside you account for this. And more percentages for the non-profit. If I'm programmed to teach the kids why the planet broke gone in the summer 06. Need the expansion on the networking. Y'all don't really know how much work this is. We trying to create alternatives. Got a few young soldiers that's learning this. Free to land, freedom, fight injustices.
Gonna cop and flip, cause that's what it is. What? That's what we try to do. Trying to spread that spirit of cop and flip amongst we nations, you know?
True.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, man. You know what? What you feel, man? Should we drop some more jewels tonight, or come again live next night? What you think, Star?
Well, look, I'm coming to pick you up from the airport in just a matter of hours. Hey, so drop the science on some of that preliminary prediction for 2021. No, you ain't dropped none of that yet. You was kind of reviewing 2020.
Yeah.
Hey, and I'm not trying to. I don't want to be a spoiler, but curiosity got the best of me, King.
Keep it moving, you know. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Yeah,
So look. So now we got this because this is a preview. From this point forward, really, this is a preview of what I intend to share at the Comedic Science Institute in Charlotte. You know, give them a little taste of that reasoning.
I say.
So, because really, from this November 13th up through December 21st, we're going to be in a season of the Great Conjunction, you know, it culminating with Jupiter and Saturn in exact hard conjunct at 0 degrees of Aquarius, you know? And that's significant because, right, December 21st, we already know that from 2012, December 21st, 12/21, like that was a power date. Something significant was going to happen, you know? But then nothing pop off on the Gregorian 2012 and people kind of, it just, you know, like I guess it was just not supposed to be nothing. But when we take into account that in the Ethiopian calendar, this is 2012. This is 2012 of the era of the martyrs within the Ethiopian calendar, you know? And so this is 2012 in the Ethiopian calendar. This great conjunction happening on 12/21. Yeah, man, that's something to think about, you know? And, you know, I paid attention to 2012, them 2012 movements in 2012, you know? And one thing that always stuck out in my heavens was that when you looked at the chart for 2012, December 21st, 2012, Gregorian, wasn't nothing popping. Wasn't nothing astrologically significant jumping off that day, But December 21st coming up, what? Hot and popping. Because it's still the Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, conjunction jumping off that we've been talking about. But on that date, Jupiter and Saturn are in direct conjunction in the sign of Aquarius, And
Wow.
so, yeah, man, it's a very significant date, and let's get into the Mayan Olmec calendar a little bit so we'll know why it's significant, okay? So the Soul King, that's the name of the Olmec Mayan calendar. It's Soul King means count of days. And basically it's a 1,872,000 count of days, And that count started August 11th, 3114 BCE. And we all know that that's around the founding of dynastic Kemet, right? And it's basically, as far as solar years, 5,125 plus a little change solar year count, right? And there's 4 key sub-cycles within it. First is called a Baktun. And there's 13 Baktuns in the Soul King, right? Each Baktun is 144,000 days. 144,000 times 13 equals 1,872,000. Next largest subcycle is called the Katun. It's 7,200 days. And there's 260 of them, right? Next cycle is called a Tun. That's our closest cycle to a year, 360 days. And there's 5,200 tunes in the Soul King. All right? These are the 3 we're going to focus on. So I'm not going to talk about the smallest, which is called the Wenial. Right? Well, let's look at some astrological correspondences so we can, use our frame of reference to decode the Soul King. We'll start with the 26,000-year great year, the precession of the equinoxes. Like how we know where we are as a planet right now. We're on the cusp, ending the age of Pisces, beginning the age of Aquarius, and each one of these ages is about 2,100 years. This is called the Great Year, right? And it's about approximately a 26,000-year cycle, right? I guess astronomers would say exactly 25,772 years, right? Well, like we said, this 1,872,000 counted days is 1/5 of this great year. Okay, if we would give that great year a numerical count of days, like the Olmec Mayan did, they would say it's 9,360,000 days long. That number of days equals 25,600, approximately 627 years, And so, like we said, this 1,872,000 counted days is 1/5 of the great, okay? The Baktun corresponds to the longest celestial event in our solar system. And that is that we can account for. And that is the Pluto-Neptune conjunction, which is a cycle of 394, roughly 395 years. Okay? And 144,000 days equals 394 years in 3 months, So that's a pretty exact correspondence.
400 years.
400 years, that's right, okay? And so now, look, the last time Pluto and Neptune conjuncted was in 1892. And I know all my, I know all my Rasta brethren, my Pan-African brethren, honor the father of Pan-Africanism, you know. His Imperial Majesty, we know he was born in that year, 1892, July 23. And so this what gives this man, this man had many titles, right? But one of his titles was Mystic Revealer, the one to reveal history, mystery, and prophecy for those who study, and give thanks. I've been studying this man and Rasta tradition for 40 years. This what gives Iman this insight on the 400 years,
Critical insight.
Yeah, man. But if you look at His Majesty's 7th house, here's his chart right here. You see Pluto and Neptune together, And so that was the last time. But that, we were contemporaries with His Majesty, But what is it with 400 years? I would say it has something to do with the laws of Jehudi. That every 400-year cycle, right? Everyone, every man, woman, and child from every nation, race, and tongue has to look at what they've done through their incarnations of that 400 years, as well as the incarnations of their bloodline, and weigh and measure that thing with the laws of Jehuti. At least that's what the Omniverse does, So how will we articulate that? And y'all familiar with the laws of Jehuti. These are the laws they know of, law of Hermes, the laws in the Kabbalion, omniversal law. Okay, I'm not going to review these. This is anyone tuned in, they should already know omniversal law. Okay, and get the Kabbalion if you need to tighten up on that. But how will we translate the 400 years and its relationship to the laws of Jehuti? We would say through our use of free will and decision making. That's taking responsibility and recognizing the law of consciousness, which is, the law of responsibility, or the value of responsibility is a sub-law, the law of consciousness. So through our use of free will and decision making, we or ones of our bloodline enacted historical events that has created our current state. That's the law of cause and effect. Every action brings about an equal and opposing reaction, as well as the apparent opposition facing us. That's the law of polarity that says all things are one and that there just appears to be polar extremes. And those polar extremes can either be complementary or antagonistic depending on your perspective, So through our use of free will and decision making, we are ones of our bloodline enacted historical events that has created our current state, as well as the apparent opposition facing us. Continued polarized consciousness will only augment the apparent opposition. This is the law of gender that says to create energy, you need two poles. Now, all that ultimately says there comes a cycle, there comes a time when bloodline karma can be identified and reconciled. And that rhythm of time is 400 years. And that's what, tied in with the law of rhythm, correspondence, and vibration. Remember, we said at the beginning that, like last year, looking at this Capricorn stellium, we said this was going to be a year where we had to take responsibility for our place and condition in space-time. There's 400 years from Jamestown. There's a reaffirmation from that. And when we look at the Soul King, right? Check this out. This is deep. This is very important for we, so-called man in America. The first Baktun of the Soul King started around the beginning of dynastic Kemet. The 13th and the last Baktun started 1618, 1 year before Jamestown. Can that be coincidence?
Brethren, can there be a coincidence that His Majesty born in 1492?
1892.
I'm sorry, 1892, and Columbus set out in 1492. You know,
Not at all.
the same year that Isabella initiated the expulsion of the Moors from Spain. You know, no coincidence.
No
going on.
coincidence. All
No
synchronicity.
coincidence. All synchronicity, brethren.
And so this is what this all tells me. The Soul King is our 400-year karmic map from Kemet to now. That's what the Soul King is. And we could look at the beginning of each Baktun and see a critical point in our history that makes us responsible for our place and space and time right here, right now.
Would you say it gives us an opportunity to be responsible, to take responsibility?
There you go.
We continue to duck and dodge and be a passive element in somebody else's remote control pipe dream.
Exactly, because until we take responsibility, we're unable to respond. We got to wait on those who we say are
who we give authority to, right? Who we're giving that authority to by assuming a position of a victim.
Exactly. So this is what we're going to penetrate at the Kemetic Science Institute. We're going to look at each Baktun and what was going on with us. But you could see these first 6 Baktuns line up almost exactly with pivotal transitional points in Kemetic history. Second Baktun was the ending of the archaic dynasties and the beginning of the Old Kingdom, and certain priesthoods, particularly Ptah and Atum, taking power. The third Baktun started at the first intermediate period, which was a very critical time, especially for today.
What was that, 12th dynasty? 12th dynasty when the Hyksos came in, invaded?
Nah, this is the 7th, 8th, and 9th dynasties of Harishaf, who got expelled from the Nile Valley by the 11th dynasty of Montu Hotep and 5 successive pharaohs. And these followers of Harishaf, when they were expelled, they basically populated the Mediterranean world and became who we call today Western Europeans. You know, followers of Thor, followers of King Arthur, anyone that had, like how Arthur had to pick a sword out of a rock, and Thor had a hammer only he could lift. All the European kings that come out of these traditions, these was priests of Harishaf. I'm not going to get all into it right now, but you know, though our actions in Kemet in the first intermediate period is what's created these people. You know, the second intermediate period you were talking about, where the Theban revolt, if we would say, who was the black man in America aligned with within Kemet? It was the Thebans. We wasn't down with Ptah and Men and them boys. And we weren't down with Harishaf. We was fighting them boys. And the way we resolve those battles has a lot to do with our apparent opposition today, bro. You know? The way we sealed up the second intermediate period, we took the followers of Ptah and locked them in the Caucasus Mountains. What's the Caucasus Mountains?
Yes,
what do we call that today?
Right, that's what's that? What they call them? What do they call them? Don't say it.
Similar word sound.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the Caucasian, the emergence of Caucasians, but the tongue they speak, the
Well, but you're right. The Caucasus Mountains,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what we did to seal up the second intermediate period. Thebans locked the followers of Ptah in them mountains and created the Caucasian, you know, straight up. And I'm just saying it now. I'm going to provide the receipts at the Kemetic Science Institute, you know. We'd be here all night if I started pulling receipts out. But y'all know how I stay. I'm not going to say nothing I can't pull out the receipts on. And truth be told, all of this is in the Great Mystery Philadelphia. You know, I'm sure this ain't no new news to you, Ross. Right?
Hey, I bear witness, brethren. And what a glory to hear it time and time again. Because remember, when I penetrated the Great Mystery, I don't usually read like that, bro. But like I said, as I bear witness before, I got a firsthand glimpse of some of the dynamics you had to navigate through to finish that book. You know,
Yes.
I witnessed it. It wasn't complete, you know, and that 2018 year was a dynamic year, man. It was like a rapture. I don't know how it settled for everybody else, but
there was a lot of souls leaving the planet that year.
I had never been to that many funerals in my life up to that point, and I have not been to that many since. So it just so happened that I was in the midst of that, paying my tributes to my folks from up the way, that I caught word that, man, Rossman ain't showing up for events. Rossman ain't answering my phone. Let me go find my brethren. And I see like, yo, this man is in the trenches doing the work, and maybe caught a shot, maybe got a little lick, you know?
Yeah.
And but still resolute to complete these works.
I received a lot of apparent opposition in fulfilling this book. And you know, our brethren Von Akibeka in one of his songs off the man, I forget the album, but he blocked the sound about the relative persecution ratio. With Babylon, they search for our relative persecution ratio. You know, give us such apparent opposition to the point where we feel like, you know, they won. We tap out, and they took me there. Man, it seemed like someone pushed a button. They had me on a certain algorithm where my finances was jammed up. Felt like Bobby Wrong was like stalking me. Just bizarre things just happening. Like they would call it now. What do they call that? Shadow banning or whatever. How like they be messing with people, just fucking with you, you know. And it also manifested as a health condition that really had my vitality to the point where the only thing that kept me on the earth plane was the will force to complete this great mystery, man. I felt like I had to do it, you know, and I give thanks.
But I don't know what was really the root. I had something for you even before I was aware of what was going on with you. So I already had it in my medi. Like if we get that close to Philly, I'm gonna just put this thing in the Ross's hand, you know. But again, there's so many dynamics going on, man. I'm telling you, bro. There's so many levels to what was going on in those weeks preceding that time, because we hadn't seen each other in years, man. We hadn't seen each other in. No, we saw each other earlier that year. We met together at the One Heart earlier in that year.
Right, true.
At One Heart, we met around the February cycle, and that's what triggered it, man. Like that was an elder auntie cousin that made her move. You know, my mother-in-law went up there to go see her, and circumstances had it where she was moving more than she was really prepared to move, and she started falling. You know, the traveling process wore my mother-in-law out. She fell, hurt her foot, and that was the beginning of her downfall.
Mm.
Yeah, man. So, it was almost 2 years before she eventually made her move. But man, it was so many ones moving, bro, left and right in that time. And like I say, it just, yeah, we had already been through so many even before we came to see my father-in-law. When I went to see my father-in-law, man, because my father-in-law is old school, and a lot of the ways in which we stay as Rosses,
They're not down with that.
it didn't line up. It didn't
Right.
line up, man. So most of my time where I'm doing my diligence, taking care of my family, caring for my queen, dealing with my youth, them cats were just from a distance, just really stiff arm, like, oh yeah, waiting for me to fall out,
Mm.
But the thing is, like you say, obedience is his own reward. So even when ones and ones really couldn't sign on to it after 15, 20 years, it actually started to rebuke them. Like these
Mm.
folks holding it firm more than most folks that we know.
Mm.
So again, man, this thing is bigger than just Nino Brown, one man trying to prove something to the world.
True.
I just see and I know that there's been enough generations. This is my grandfather told me when I really started to find myself. In 1995, my grandfather checked out, and I didn't really know the man that well. I only met him a couple times that I can remember. But I remember it was just a few days out from me having the experience of actually having independence for the first time. Real independence, not living in no dorm at a college, but
Right.
actually having to maintain an apartment and the bills and all the rest of the, you know what I'm saying? But my grandfather checked out 6 days after my birthday on Christmas, on New Year's Eve, you know, and I was slotted to move to Virginia, that first or second weekend in January. So I'm at the funeral. I don't know a whole bunch about these things. I ain't know nothing about ancestors back in them days, man. I was just starting to uncover, anything outside of traditional raising up in the church and whatnot, and just running the streets and chasing girls. And I'm at my grandfather's funeral, and I'm in the front row, and I'm looking over my shoulder at one point, like, it's all kind of elders up in here that I've only met once or twice. I know they know this man better than me. Why these cats got me up in the front row? I don't even hardly know this man, you know? And I'm saying this inside my mind's eye. And no sooner could I get the question out, I hear the voice inside my head, which again, I didn't have an orientation about ancestry. So I didn't, at the time, I didn't have the context to appreciate what it was. But as soon as I got that question, I'm like, man, why they got me up in the front row? My grandmother's sitting behind me. The woman, my grandfather was married to, she ain't even in the front row. I'm at the front row on the end, Ross, last seat in the row, looking over my shoulder like, yo, all these elders up in here, why they got me in the front row? Yeah, you don't know me, but I know you.
Mm.
And then the state I was in, I couldn't really get close to you like I would if I could. But the state that I'm at right now, you're gonna know me a whole lot better. And mind you, like I say, I'm just thinking it's just this voice in my head. Okay, whatever, And a few days later, like 6 days later, man, I'm riding through Virginia. This is one of the biggest storms that hit the East Coast in the last 30 years. Was trying to impede or was an obstacle between me getting out of Pittsburgh and back into Virginia. The way it was made, two patriarchs, my uncle and my stepfather made sure I made that journey, From that point forward, man, that relationship started with me and my folks on the other side. And man,
Here we are
No
today.
No turning back. What they say? You reach the River Jordan and you turn back? Come on, man.
Mm.
You reach River Jordan and you turn back from that point until now, man. This journey been one where I clearly see that this is way bigger than me. And one key thing, one key point from this whole, what I'm sharing right now is my grandfather started to rebuke me. You know, I give it to him because I didn't really have no connection with none of my other ancestors at that point. Anytime the sisters would come around and I start getting that 40-inch eyes,
Mm.
and he'd be like, yo, how many generations we gonna do this?
Mm.
How many generations we gonna just cast the seeds to swine? How many are we just gonna spread these things around carelessly? Sooner or later, somebody got to make a responsible decision to slow down and choose well, you know? And mind you, my grandfather was a ladies' man. He wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I never witnessed him with my grandmother together. My father didn't raise up with his father, you know? But this was the cat. Once I connected with him, once he connected with me, this was one of the first messages he had for me. How many generations we gonna do this?
Mm.
You know? Yeah, man. So
Inside. And that's what this time is about. You know, like we say, not just ours. We got to account not just for our behavior across lifetimes, but even our bloodline. That's what this season is all about, sealing that up. You know,
yes, I.
and
Yes, I.
bringing it forward to this Baktun reasoning, right? And for the second set of Baktuns, the 7th through the 13th, you know, this is where that Moorish legacy of, you know, the Moorish empowerment of Rome that started with Saint Maurice and the Theban legions around the founding of Rome, around the time of Christ, you know. And the reality is, the deep thing is, right? We cry about Rome now. We say Rome, fire burned, you know. But the reality is, it was the Goths. It was these Europeans from the Caucasus Mountains that overthrew Rome in 437 AD, the beginning of the 10th Baktun. But hey, Ross, who resurrected Rome in 800 AD?
The man they call Charlemagne.
Charlemagne, the Moor. Franco Moors resurrected Rome with the Holy Roman Empire at 800 AD. And around 1200 AD, German Moors basically set up a network of, what do you call it, a trans-Europe slave trade.
The German Moors were what, like Benedict? What did Benedict? I remember that, some of that. What was Benedict with the German Moors? Saint Benedict? What is that? Was
He
it Benedict?
established a lot of the churches, the Christian churches of Europe. And, you know, we know that those churches are adorned with like Black Madonnas and Saint Maurice, who is the patron saint of Rome from 800 AD up to about 1600 AD.
And Benedict came out of them German Moors, right?
Exactly. He's responsible
Wow.
for the art in a lot of those churches. But see, here's the
Brothers.
thing. When
That's
we
speaking.
look at that, we say, oh, they knew who was God, you know. But when we see what Rome does with white Jesus in Africa, we call that mind pollution. You know what I mean? We gotta look at it on equal terms.
The
That,
example that was set, right?
you know, that Ma'at is real. That if you do something to someone else, that same thing's gonna happen to you, you know? And That's what ultimately led us to that 13th Baktun. Here we are in Jamestown, you know? And I shared it on the IG. I'm not bringing this history to be like Henry Gates coming with some self-hatred. All I'm saying is I know that in this time we got to be responsible take responsibility for our place in space-time, right? I'm sharing a history that'll make that easier. We overstand some of the critical points where, yeah, things we did, we had it to do over, we might do it different, you know? So, penetrate, first I'm going to focus on enough.
Hey, you freezing up a little bit here, and Ross. You done froze up completely. I don't hear nothing. You know, they don't love to see or hear the sound of progress from these Babylonian instruments. But yeah, you done froze up again, King. Yes, You might have to same thing. One step back to make 2 steps forward. Yeah, they knocked you off again, King. They hear what this man is saying. Ross Bender's an original. And he's a humble man. Which puts that much more value on his insights. Nothing like someone who already knows they got all the answers. Not a lot of room for interjection. But I've known this brethren for 20 plus years, man. It's just one thing I can contest or attest. He don't stop. This man is ever seeking these truths, ever in these books, ever upon this raw search to uncover these mysteries. So I'm just humble to think and to know and proclaim like, this is my brethren, you know? It's my brethren. We've been brethren for 20 plus years, you know? And our queens, our empresses, our tight sistren, you know? For 20 plus years. Opportunities that come for the families to sync up. You can't imagine. I can't imagine it. 20 plus years every time, fresh and new. So many layers of texture and quality in the relations. And not just to be, you know what I'm saying, flattering one another. But to for real time, get on about the work, man. Healing up these generations. Bringing forth these works. You know what? Y'all need to hear the rest of this tune. Hold on. Oh, because I cut it off because I want to hear what the man have to say. The tune will get on regular rotation when we're doing these presentations. But so it go.
Cop and flip, cop and flip, or cop and flip, cop and flip, cop and flip. Show y'all how cop and flip, yeah. Hold your position. Listen to the words of those who take missions to break in the kitchens like bakers with great dishes. I'm picking up the product to shake your whole district. Tighter than unlimited.
Just to give you a little glimpse of what we're doing around here in Infinite Treasures.
Yeah, I tell you about penmanship, writing in the kitchen and in cribs since I learned to write sentences. Now I'm part of several businesses, copping and flipping it. I don't really see what the difference is, but at the end
Copping and flipping it.
I
don't really see what the difference is.
I'ma show you how to cop and flip. Every word out of I cop and flip. My brother is not that brick. I'ma show you how to cop and flip. Who's saying he cop and flip? Yeah. I'ma show you how to cop and flip. Come on. I'ma show you how to cop and flip. My brother is not that brick. Cop flip production, drop kick percussion, waistline, baseline, stamp in my head with enough hi-hats to supply 5 live acts. I'm big-headed like why should I rap? Hussein like Julius, man, it's a tool beginners. I flip keys for the fiends with the spoon and the torch. Solidify the liquid and consume New York. I clapped it and I flipped it and consumed the book. Come on. What you know about chord progression on a cordless with flawless protection, vocal cords to bring on applause for leftists now. All broad when the chords and pressures. Just count the words and flip the flows. It's not the earth, it's not the code. No, don't watch the curve, I watch the code. See birds, but these see birds are dope. So saying, baby. Shallow, liberation, Mad Maestro, Pharaoh Z.
You better roll with the movement. It ain't about bricks, it's a cop and flip. Keep your brain on point for the cop and flip. That one need a rerun. A lot of key points in that message. Yeah, these are the works coming out of Infinite Treasures. These instruments, these critical devices, critical resources.
Because hate is legislated,
Potential
written into
is
the primer
unlimited.
and
Hence
the
the name.
testament,
Infinite.
shot into our blood and brain like vaccine
Infinite.
vitamins.
Infinite.
Yes, sir.
Aye.
So,
So
yeah,
it goes.
I think the technology's telling us, that we gave them enough taste.
True.
You know?
True. Yeah, man. We're gonna dive into
with a final
technology.
word. I'm just coming on to say, give thanks. Like y'all see what we got lined up, and hope to see ones in the Carolinas. Yeah. Did you want to seal them up with anything, Ross?
Behold, how good and pleasant it is when I and I dwell together in einity, just like the precious ointment upon we heads, running down we beards, as the dews of Hermon, as the dews that descend upon the holy mountains of Zion. For there, the true and living I, Emperor Haile Selassie I Jah, Rastafari commandeth thy blessings, even life forever. Ashe.
Yes, I give thanks.
All right. Yeah, man. So what we looking at? Today is Tuesday. We got Wednesday, Thursday. Ross is going to be in Charlotte in just a matter of days. It's going down for real. And the folks seem to be eager, hungry, ready. We're going to do our best to work out the details of the technology. So for the folks who maybe ain't close enough to come and touch these things firsthand, we may be able to line up something where you could plug in, pay a little $5, $10, and catch it on the spot.
Yeah.
Fact of the matter is, we ain't got no major backing, no major funding. We ain't charging these different locations nothing to bring Ross in. We are being obedient. We are feeling the pulse of the people. We're feeling the pulse of the time. We need this. And by the grace of the Most High, the pieces have been put in place for us to do the preliminary, to bring him in. But why not activate the technology, and the folks who can't reach, show your little love shot, show your little grace, get your ear to the wall and see firsthand what this man have to deliver. So look out for that.
Yeah.
You know, Ross is
What did
pretty.
we say we were gonna attempt to do? Get
One
like
of them things,
Zoom?
man, either like a Zoom or one of those Patreon type of links, where, because again, man, my social media following has taken a significant uptick. Folks have been very responsive to the visions of us just being in the same space at the same time. I don't know if ones and ones really understood. I don't know if you and me can appreciate the significance of the folks who support our works respectively. Like, I don't know if they knew that we are tight brethren. Like, it ain't just like a business relationship, yo.
Right.
That's secondhand. You know, we are, man, we are key brethren.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, I count you as like my own, and you are my senior, even though I got a little bit more salt and pepper up in here. You got me by some years. Yeah, man. So I value the counsel, man. I value the wise mind. And really, all this is, brother, this is like any casual conversation we have at any given time.
That's true.
This is what we do every time on the phone. We just sharing it with the community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a value, man. Not to be self-exaltating, but it's a value, man. It's something that the people can use, you know, as they trying to find their way and navigating their way through this next line of tricks and mysteries Babylon got lined up and served up. Why not get a proper orientation?
That's true.
You know?
That's
Why
true.
not? You know? Yes, I. So, yeah, man, we're going to line it up. The ancestors, the angels, them great ones of old, they on our side.
True.
It's going to line up, and we'll be able to have that digital access available. And we just hope and pray the folks see the value in it. Throw your little $5 at it. Throw your little $10 at it. We ain't trying to kill nobody.
Nah.
But yo, we feeding big households. How many you got, Ross?
I got 7.
No, you sleeping on the job, Ross.
But how many you got, brethren?
Yeah, I got 4 boys, 4 girls, brethren.
Yeah, man.
My baby girl's 8 years old. Hey,
Wow.
I got an 8-year-old. She turned 8 on 2/2/2020.
Wow.
And I got a 20-year-old who turned 20 on 7/20/2020.
All right.
We got 2 dragons around here, brethren. We ain't playing no game. Hey, the heavens and the earth is on our side, man. We got a congregation like nobody's business, man. Ain't no dull moments around these parts where they call infinite treasures, brethren. These cats keep my mind on me toes, you know?
Yes, I know that's true.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to coming down to that region, getting a little more solar contact, building with the
Capricorn Nation. The Capricorn Nation. Come on, get you some, Ross, man. Earth Keeper Nation.
Looking
Earth
forward.
Keeper Nation down here around these parts, you know?
All
yeah,
right.
man. Appreciate the invite, brother. Appreciate your willingness to tolerance my blurts of exuberance. I get so excited with certain of these reasonings, man. I can't share this with everyone. So for you to invite me into this community to offer my 2 cents, I do declare, I know one thing for sure. I know that I know not. So what I have to offer are my 2 cents. You know what I'm saying? My 2 shoes, my 2 cents. And maybe somebody else can make sense of it. You know?
That's true. All right, Rasta. Give thanks. And I'll see you Friday.
Yeah, man.
In our virtual community. We're going to do our best to make the link. So if you're not in them Carolina regions, could share a little donation and tune in on the virtual, you know?
Be well worth it, brother. That's
yes,
what I'm
sir.
telling you. Well
all right.
Yes, sir.
Until
Bless
that
it,
time.
King. You know what it is.
Yes,
Love,
sir.
guidance, and protection all the while.
Much love and respect.